Vengeful ghosts, psychopathic anomalous killers, bugs that'll turn your flesh and bone into their new home, and so much more. Today we're looking at the 25 scariest SCPs on the internet. Number 25, SCP-096 The Shy Guy. A picture's worth 1,000 words, unless it's a picture of SCP-096's face. Then it's worth one very loud, frightened scream as the Shy Guy tears you limb from limb. No one knows what this entity's face looks like, or no one who's lived to tell the tale anyway. But judging by the rest of its appearance, it's probably not much of a looker. With elongated limbs, ghastly pale skin, and not a single hair on its whole body, SCP-096 is eerie enough even when it's just sitting in the corner and crying. But the second you see its face, it lets out an unholy wail that can only mean one thing: you are doomed. SCP-096 will not stop destroying someone who has seen its face until its target has been completely and utterly destroyed. Speaking of utterly destroyed, Number 24, SCP-001 When Day Breaks. One day, the sun turned against all life on Earth. Living beings began to melt beneath its heat, transforming into masses of gelatinous flesh, oozing across the ground. All light, the source of life, became death. There was no escape except to block out any sun, to retreat underground, and pray the masses of conglomerated flesh that were once people wouldn't drag you out into the deadly light. There's only one way to cool off with a sun that hot: get in the water. But there are worse fates than becoming a blob. Number 23, SCP-106 The Old Man. This is one old man you don't want to help cross the street. SCP-106 is one of the most infamous, malicious anomalies in the SCP catalog. A malevolent octogenarian capable of corroding and dissolving anything he touches, including you, if you're lucky. If you're less fortunate, he'll steal you away into his pocket dimension, where you'll be trapped with nothing but his blank, milky eyes, rotting flesh, and wide, wicked smile for as long as he wants to keep you there. Then, when he's done hunting you, that nightmarish face will be your dying memory. Nightmarish faces. That reminds us of something. Number 22, SCP-087 The Stairwell. You're walking down a darkened staircase, unable to see more than a few steps in front of you. Thankfully, you thought ahead and brought a flashlight. You switch it on and follow its beam as you descend. Suddenly, you hear a cry for help, the voice of a child in extreme distress. You follow the sound hoping you can help, but no matter how far down you go, the cries of the invisible child stay just as far away. You eventually give up and turn around to climb up the staircase again, when your flashlight beam illuminates the face of something waiting for you. A face with no pupils, no nose, no mouth, just wide, empty eyes staring deep into yours. Every hair stands to attention, your stomach drops, and your hands, slick with sweat, drop the flashlight. Now you're alone, in the dark, hundreds of flights down the stairs. Just you and that thing. Welcome to SCP-087. It's uncertain whether the face in SCP-087 will actually hurt those it encounters, or whether it just fills them with an inexplicable sense of dread. But we know for sure this next one will hurt you. Number 21, SCP-035 The Possessive Mask. SCP-035 is a white porcelain mask that constantly drips black sludge from its eyes and mouth. Anyone who stands near it or looks at it feels the intense urge to put it on, and if they do, well, they won't be making any more conscious choices after that. The victim experiences immediate brain death as their mind is replaced with the consciousness inside the mask. Get ready for a puppet show where you're the puppet. Best to keep your distance. Maybe look at something on your phone, or take a dip in the pool. Number 20, SCP-354 The Red Pool. SCP-354 is a pool of red liquid. Not exactly blood, but something pretty close. It isn't the pool itself that's frightening, but what emerges from it. Giant bats, bear-sized creatures covered in razor-sharp spines, a radioactive levitating spear, and a metallic humanoid machine described by several D-classes who witness it as a Terminator. Who knows what might come out of the Red Pool next? You just never know what you might encounter out in the wilderness alone, or in the App Store. Number 19, SCP-1471 MalO version 1.0.0. Don't download the free MalO version 1.0.0 app onto your phone. Once you do, you'll start receiving text messages every 3 to 6 hours, all containing a large humanoid figure with candid skull and black hair lurking in the background. Soon, you'll start receiving pictures of places you go regularly. Then you'll see places you just were. And then, it'll start sending you pictures of yourself, with the creature just behind you. Chilling. Wait, I didn't say that. Is someone imitating my voice? Number 18. SCP-939 with many voices. SCP-939 is a species of pack predators that hunt in and around caves. So if you want to avoid them, just stay away from caves, right? It's not that easy. Their primary mode of hunting is the mimicry of human voices, particularly the voices of their previous victims. So they can sound like anyone, a lost child, an old woman in distress, anyone they've killed. If you encounter them and live, you'll probably never even know it. They excrete an amnestic substance that makes their prey forget anything ever happened. So you might walk out of a cave filled with SCP-939, only to turn around and walk right back in, blissfully unaware until they're sinking their teeth into your flesh and stealing your voice, too. But caves aren't the only dangerous place. Take, for example, your car. Number 17. SCP-1337 The Hitchhiker. Once upon a time, there was a girl named Mary Talish who was abducted from her home in Muncie, Indiana by a cult. They sacrificed Mary, and now her spirit haunts the side of the road on the 19th of each month, the day she died. She asks passing motorists for a ride home, and then tells them to stop at the cemetery. Once there, she disappears, leaving her sweater behind. If someone picks up her sweater, they feel the urge to find her parents, who will tell them, "Mary, but she's been dead for years." Ghosts can appear in the strangest of places. Anything can be haunted, a road, or perhaps an innocent little doll. Number 16. SCP-136 The Naked Doll. Don't be so nervous. SCP-136 is just a doll that manifests with a random appearance each time, usually as a female figure made of clay, wood, metal, or cloth. But that's strange. After looking at the doll for around 20 minutes, you can hear shrill, unsettling laughter that prickles the back of your neck. Then SCP-136-2 appears, wide grinning mouth and wild, bloodshot eyes. It walks slowly toward you, laughing all the while. SCP-136-2 is literally the stuff of nightmares, and viewing it will give you night terrors that go on for months afterward. Good luck sleeping. Try not to panic if you hear that horrible laugh in the middle of the night, or hear the slapping of wet flesh. Number 15. SCP-610 The Flesh That Hates. SCP-610 is a contagious skin disease that transforms the skin into scar tissue and ceases all life functions for 3 minutes. But then, the real nightmare begins. The scar tissue begins to move on its own, growing faster and faster. Human features disappear beneath the ever-expanding flesh. The head warps, new limbs sprout, and the infested will pick a place to settle, to put down roots, to spread the flesh all across the floor, the walls, and onto any unsuspecting person that wanders near. Definitely avoid any areas with SCP-610. But our next SCP is worse. It turns Christmas cheer into Christmas fear. Number 14. SCP-4666 The Yule Man. If you ever cross paths with SCP-4666, you'll be sorry. 12 nights a year, SCP-4666 visits a household with little children living there, but he does not bring gifts, at least not any that you'd want. If you're lucky, he leaves you an unpleasant surprise. If you're not, he kills everyone in the house except for the child living there. They get kidnapped and taken to his workshop to make gruesome toys, and if you can't make the toys anymore, you become the toys. That'll keep you up at night. At least he won't sing you a certain nursery rhyme. Number 13. SCP-783 There Was a Crooked Man. SCP-783 is a hostile entity that is currently preying on the citizens of Tempe, Oxfordshire, England. Every 12 years, it becomes active for 70 days at a time. And would you look at that? It's been about 12 years since its previous active period. It cannot be photographed. It cannot be recorded. The only way to track it is to follow a path of crooked things, buildings, objects, and of course, people. Your bones will warp and crack. Your arms will stretch and twist until you hardly even look human anymore. Tick, tick, tick. Is that the sound of your time running out? Number 12. SCP-4975 Time's Up. SCP-4975 is an avian humanoid predatory creature that produces a clicking sound by rotating its vertebra one at a time. It sounds a lot like a ticking clock. The sound only stops when the creature is about to attack. So, as unsettling as it is to be followed by the sound of a ticking clock, it's much scarier when the noise goes quiet, just like the eerie silence behind a door. Number 11. SCP-303 The Doorman. SCP-303 is an emaciated humanoid figure with reddish-brown skin, an enormous mouth, and oversized human teeth. You'll know it's there when you hear its breathing, a wheeze that you can hear even through a closed door. You'll never know when it's coming. You'll only know when it arrives. It will appear just behind your door and stand there for some time. If you move to open the door, you will feel a rush of inexplicable terror rooting you to the spot. You'll never see more than 10% of it, but you'll somehow know exactly what it looks like. And you'll know when it leaves too, because your heartbeat will slow back down and you'll realize you're alone. At least, hopefully you're alone, and you don't have an infestation of some kind. Number 10. SCP-439 Bone Hive. SCP-439 is a species of insects resembling earwigs. Their bites hurt, but the biggest threat comes when you're fast asleep. Do you sleep with your mouth open? That's unfortunate. That's how the queen enters your body, crawling down into your trachea to nest in the lungs. Then your body will begin to experience rapid onset of bone growth and muscle tissue. It will progress until your body has calcified and you can no longer move, until your skeleton can be pushed into the perfect shape for its new purpose. What purpose is that? To be a hive for the insect colony. By the way, the victims are completely aware and alive throughout this entire process, even as the thousands of insects hatch inside their bones. However, horror can hide in the most seemingly innocuous of places, in the seemingly most non-threatening of people, like, say, an old woman. Number 9. SCP-352 Baba Yaga. SCP-352 is a very old woman who has never given her name. She is far stronger and faster than she should be, and can recover from seemingly any wound. SCP-352 grows very thin, hair-like strands all over her body, which can grow to several meters in an hour. They're almost invisible, but they produce a poisonous enzyme, also found in the woman's saliva. The enzyme attacks the nervous system and causes hallucinations, euphoria, suppression of pain, and suppression of cognitive abilities. These effects can become permanent. She creates a web from this hair, luring in her prey, usually human children, which she eats. You might have trouble sleeping after that, but after our next anomaly, you will never sleep again. Number 8. SCP-966 Sleep Killer. SCP-966 are predatory creatures that look like hairless, digitigrade humans with a long face and a mouth full of needle-sharp teeth. On each of their hands, they have 5 claws up to 20 centimeters long, the better to slash you with. Luckily, these beings are weak, but less luckily, they emit a frequency that prevents you from ever being able to fall asleep again. You just get more exhausted, more vulnerable, until SCP-966 claims its prey. At that point, it's just a ticking clock. Feeling stressed about this? Maybe visit a nice, wholesome theme park. Number 7. SCP-2571 Cragglewood Park. Cragglewood Park isn't real, right? It's just a memory of a non-existent, eerie theme park that affects adults raised as an only child. The park, as they remember it, featured no adults, just anthropomorphic trees and plants, calliope music, and a merry-go-round. All of the children who went on to the merry-go-round never got off. The trees smiled, they laughed. The children tried not to cry. They had to keep the trees happy. Some of them remembered walking with children who held their hands, who hugged them goodbye. Who were they? Do you remember Cragglewood Park? Who was there with you? Are you sure you've always been an only child? Wait, what's that sound? Is that an ambulance siren? Number 6. SCP-4419 The Butcher's Chariot. SCP-4419 is a vehicle resembling an ambulance, but it's not one you'd ever want to see blasting its sirens if you happen to be injured. 2 individuals dressed as paramedics will load an injured person into the back, and then the ambulance will speed away and vanish, but it will never reach a hospital. The patient is returned alive, but different. Limbs protrude from torsos, jaws are forced open permanently, and glass windows are installed to put the heart on permanent display. In your hour of need, you find yourself an unwilling test subject for bizarre human experiments. All because you went off in that ambulance by yourself. It's safer to stay at home and maybe play a game of chess. Number 5. SCP-1875 Antique Chess Computer. SCP-1875 is a seemingly ordinary chess-playing machine from Russia, but there is nothing ordinary about it. It was constructed using the brain cells of a Russian prodigy's twin daughters. Now, the consciousness, or spirits, or whatever you might want to call what resides within, want revenge. They have taken over the machine and generated a terrifying image that they have emailed to the entire SCP department researching the chess computer. It depicts the distorted faces of 2 little girls. Anyone who sees this image will experience restlessness, hallucinations of children laughing, and eventually, death. Too bad. There's usually safety in numbers, unless you fall in with the wrong crowd. Number 4. SCP-428 The Crowd. At first glance, SCP-428 appears to be a huddled group of regular human beings. However, if you inspect them more closely, you'll see that none of the people inside have anything to them. They're just sacks of skin attached to a mass in the middle with an umbilical cord. If someone comes within 2 meters of the crowd, they will stop huddling and begin to try to pull the stranger into the center of the group. Once the victim has been held for more than 10 seconds, they will be assimilated into the crowd, gone forever. It's best to avoid masses of strange people, or even masses of people you think you know. You might not know them. Number 3. SCP-2316. You do not recognize the bodies in the water. If you should ever find yourself walking by a lake and see a collection of human corpses floating in the water, do not approach them. You do not recognize the bodies in the water. You may believe you do. It may tug at your heart and bring tears to your eyes to leave them there. But if you wade out to meet them, you will join them. It is a cognito hazard. Stop. Stop right there. You do not recognize the bodies in the water. Stay back. Focus on something else. Like, is that ringing? Number 2. SCP-513 The Cowbell. Ask not for whom the cowbell rings. You'd better hope it's not ringing for thee. If you come into possession of this plain, rusty cowbell, you are opening the door to something dark, something you can never hope to understand. But it wants to understand you. Wants to reach out and touch you with its hands, too large for its spindly long body. As a note left behind warned, you've seen it, now he can hear you. You've touched it, now he can see you. Never ring it. If you hear it, he can touch you. You definitely don't want him to touch you, just like you wouldn't want to touch water after our next anomaly. Number 1. SCP-1128 The Aquatic Horror. We'll spare you the specific details on SCP-1128. After all, it manifests as a massive aquatic predator to anyone given a full description of its appearance, whether written or spoken or even drawn. At that point, water becomes deadly, no matter how little of it there is. The pool, the bathtub, a puddle. They'll be pulled beneath the surface all the same. They'll suddenly find themselves deep in the waters of a strange ocean, being pursued by a sea monster intent on devouring them. Best avoided if you don't want to become fish food. Now go check out SCP-6448 The Not Deer Stalks You, or SCP-1128 The Aquatic Horror.